The only reasons why the so-called Fulani have not conquered this country is because of the Igbo people. If they conquer the Igbo land, forget about Nigeria.
I once told you that the greatest enemies that we have as Ijaw people are the Yorubas.
We went to Jos at the first PDP convention that finally brought Olusegun Obasanjo as our candidate. Shehu Shagari had organized all the northern delegates and came into Jos to support Alex Ekweme. You know, and I'm happy that he's still alive. Ibrahim Babangida had to intervene and called all the northern leaders that if Alex Ekweme was allowed to be president, it will make nonsense the coup. They carried out that they removed him and Shehu Shagari. That was why we lost the convention, the presidential primary.
All right, there is this Ijaw man that is bitter about the Yorubas. He said that Igbos are not their problem and other tribes are not their problem in Ijaw land. But the Yorubas, well, that is his own opinion, and I believe many people must have been in that same position. And that reminds me of the alliance Tinubu, formed with Buhari that time. See, let me tell you, see, the Igbos are not power drunk. The Igbos, they are not power drunk. Yes, all they care is let things be going on well. And it's also suspicious to, see these people that are looking for power always in Nigeria. Something is behind it. Just suspect them. They are not coming to serve you. See these people that are power drunk every time, every year they are looking for power, how to grab power. You have seen examples. Go back to the history of Nigeria, even presently, you have seen the examples. All these poor people, power drunk people, what have they done for you? Nothing. And we don't want to still reason with our empty heads. Yeah? With our empty heads. Oh my God. Well, that is it. Let's hear from this Ijaw guy. We are coming back.
I once told you that the greatest enemies that we have as Ijaw people are the Yorubas. Not the Hausas, not the Igbos. Yes, it's on record that during the time of Yaradua, there was this, issue that happened between its government and Binikurukuru and other parts of the Niger Delta. But outside that experience, the Fulani leader, every other experience, both the one of OPC in Lagos, OD, and then Alamiesaya, and many other issues, record shows that the man who sought our late hero Isaac Adakaboro was a Yoruba man. And so I've always noticed that this group of ethnic groups in Nigeria are the #1 enemies of Nigeria. Obasanjo practically instructed Ribadu to go after the life of Alamiesaya because he stood against Obasanjo's third-term ambition. Today, what is happening, the same man who was a governor of Lagos State, and OPC were eliminating, assassinating the Ijaw leaders, credible Ijaw leaders. Today he is the president. And the same leaders who were as at then saying that Jonathan must go because they are Yorubas, they've closed gap. Now this is not where I'm going. Where I'm going is that in all of this, I've noticed that there's something, a tool in the hands of the Yorubas. And what is it? It's what I call the power of honor. The Yorubas knows how to honor their kings. They knows how to honor those who are in power and in authority. They knows how to honor their leaders. But the Niger Delta, what we do is to keep cutting our leaders down. And so the day we began and learn to honor our leaders, you're going to see some level of turnaround in ways we think and reasons, and things will fall in pleasant places. Because currently we have too many leaders leading us into deserts, leading us into ocean, leading us nowhere. And it's important that we must learn to honor our leaders. But most importantly, leaders must know their place. There are journeys that leaders must not embark on. It is so important. The day we learn these facts, we're going to make exploit. The question is, who is going to lead this crusade for us to practice and to get a different perception over how we treat our leaders? It is important that we have this conversation in going forward. Thank you for a voice coming from the Greeks to the diaspora. Thank you.
Yes, you have seen that. I tell you that if Igbos are power drunk, if Igbos have seen that they can, belong to Nigeria, let's assume that there's no issue of Biafra, but they want to, come out to, do the leadership thing of Nigeria, it will become easier for themselves to form this alliance. Igbos that are everywhere in Nigeria, aside the major indigenes of the particular town, the next popular people there are the Igbos. Anywhere in Nigeria, the remotest place in Nigeria, go and verify. So if Igbos are power drunk, these things will be easier. To become leaders will be easier for Igbos than any other tribe in Nigeria. I bet you. You challenge it. Let's see. Well, having said things about the power issue, I want to shift your attention to something that is quite disturbing to me. Honestly, how can I not come out in the night to ease myself? That is the lamentation of this MiddleBelt area, Benue people, all these axes. That is what one of them is saying. That they cannot come out to because of the fear of Fulanis. And this thing reminds me of what I saw yesterday, about what Nnamdi Kanu was saying. In fact, that one was very fresh, as if Nnamdi Kanu just said it now. But I tell you that, you see, don't support bad thing. I keep saying it. Anywhere you hear people discussing something bad or they're about to do anything bad, leave that place. Condemn it. Because of what happened in the history of Nigeria, you see, when they were fighting the Biafrans, all of them were happy fighting Biafra. We are fighting Biafra war. What happened? Finally, these people that fought Biafra, they have now turned against them and started finishing them. Started finishing them. That to the extent, one Benue guy is saying that it is the only Igbos, the people so-called Biafra, because they have not been able to conquer them. That is the only reason that Nigeria still remains. Well, let's start with that before we go to one important discussion of what happened, previously concerning Nigeria. You see, this fight against Igbos are real. They are very real, I tell you, with what is happening in Nigeria today. But however, with determination and focus, you see all these things, now small thing, it will be overcome. Let's start with this other one.
Hausa people have failed. They have conquered their land. Yoruba people have failed. They have conquered their land. The only reasons why the so-called Fulani have not conquered this country is because of the Igbo people. If they conquer the Igbo land, forget about Nigeria. Imagine somebody living in his house. You cannot come out at night to wee. Why? Because of Fulani. Because of Fulani in our country. What a shame.
Are weeping We are all weeping, but none of you wept for Eastern Nigeria, so to speak, which is land of Biafra. None of you wept for the Igbo when they are being massacred. None of you wept for the Efik. None of you wept for Anang. None of you wept for even Ijaw and other ethnic groups that made up Eastern Nigeria. None of you ever wept for us. We died that your useless Nigeria may be won. And today, all of us are dying. But one day, weeping must come to an end. We have decided not to weep anymore. We have decided not to cry anymore.
So you've seen it. That is the lamentation of that Benue guy. And I bet you that he is speaking the minds of many of them. Yeah? That is living, this is the real living in bondage. Living in bondage. For years. For years. Yeah? When they were invading Biafra land, you know, people are towing that direction of reasoning. But, you know, I myself, my own is to condemn anything that is bad. You condemn it because it might still backfire and come to your side tomorrow. And we must join hand to condemn everything that is bad. We are not leaving any stone unturned in condemning bad things. I said we are going to, you know, have this discussion viewed. Relax and listen to this discussion. Listen to this discussion. Because my attention was caught when this guy said, when this man, he's an elderly person, when he said that Buhari, sorry, not Buhari, Babangida came and convinced Shehu Shagari them, the North, that they should not allow LS Ekweme. If they allow LS Ekweme, it means that the coup that they did or whatever is not sensible. But they later installed Obasanjo, who was the former head of state, ab initio. You see, it's just a gang up against the Igbos, and they know it. People are saying it out. The Hausas everywhere, they are saying it. Other tribes, they are ganging up against the Igbo. But Igbos, Pasuna. Let's hear what this man is saying.
Ustani, let me tell you something. I
want to learn from you this morning.
We went to Jos at the first PDP convention that finally brought Olusegun Obasanjo as our candidate. Shehu Shagari had organized all the northern delegates and came into Jos to support Alex Ekweme. You know, and I'm happy that he's still alive. Ibrahim Babangida had to intervene and called all the northern leaders that if Alex Ekweme was allowed to be president, it will make nonsense the coup. They carried out that removed him and Shehu Shagari. That was why we lost the convention, the presidential primary in Jos. So we all went into, I think it was Jos Hilton Hotel or something, and most of us weeping. Is that what happened? And Shagari said he has done his best, that the military was still running the affairs, instructing people what to do in parts of the country. But most importantly, Hussein, let me tell you something. There's a situation we find ourselves, and you start to ask, why is it that God brought all of us in this country? If we cannot explain why or ask any question why God did that, I would have thought that in the end of the Civil War, now we have 6 component parts of this country. Gowon is still alive. Can the governors or the president, if they are sincere to themselves, if we are not shred of investigative hypnosis, this is what I think is going on, can the 6 component zones in this country sit down, analyze properly, say what their different interests are, and then bring them to a common point where every group will try to harmonize for the better interests of this country? I still remember the Oputa Commission. There was nothing that needs to be said that was not said in the Oputa Commission up to today. No government has dared to take up any side of what he said for the betterment of this country. So it is difficult for me to begin to imagine whether we are really sincere as a people that we need one Nigeria. When the war ended, General Gowon said, no victor, no vanquished. But I don't know whether the meaning of that English, whether it still applies. Because the Southeast, principally in this country, whether anybody likes it or not, we are, neglected, we are We're not taken in as, people of one country because we fought a civil war. But statements like this from the Plateau governor also tells you that there are people who have varying views. We didn't start the war. I don't know how old you were by the time the crisis started in the north. That singular coup happened because the three regions were moving slightly apart. And the time I met with late Major General Hassan Usman Kassina, when he was Deputy Chief of Staff to General Way, he told me that they all supported the coup. That they all supported it too. The only thing that what happened was that after the coup, some elements in Kaduna, after Ahmadu Bello was killed, somebody else was killed in the west, and M.I. Okpara was not killed in the east. And I said, M.I. Okpara couldn't have been killed in the east because a head of state was visiting the east and was with M.I. Okpara, then the Archbishop Macarius of Cyprus. That was the only reason why that coup wasn't complete. And so it was difficult to convince people that it wasn't an Igbo coup. But honestly, people who were involved in that process will tell you no, that the military was just trying to save Nigeria from the governors, from the premiers who were moving slightly apart. And they didn't think it was going to be good for the overall interests of this country. So what I think we need now, if we are going to be sincere, not just people taking public office and sharing money, is for us to sit down, discuss the fate of this country, how we can move this country forward, and implement what we have discussed. It's one thing to discuss and arrive at some, principles of, discussion, and we are not able to implement it. Then it's useless wasting all the time talking about one Nigeria.
Honestly, that convention dealt with Ekwueme. Ekwueme is the person that formed PDP. He's the major person. He spearheaded the formation of PDP, and these people went behind and denied him that ticket. You see, it's not today. It has been the mindset of Nigeria. They don't want Igbos to be leaders. And you that are leaders, but how far with Nigeria? How it never gets sense to say, okay, these people, you don't want them to become leaders, let's try them. The other masses, so the other masses follow masses that doesn't want to reason. You allow these people, these few gangs up, that they are the ones determining your future, of which they don't have interest of yours at heart. For decades, what have they achieved for you as an ordinary person in the north? What? I beg, let's go into more important things I want to show you guys today on the recent happenings in Nigeria. Let's go.
Attention is on the allegations against Senator Ali Ndume and some of the issues raised as around issues of ransoms during Kidnap in Borno State. An allegations is raised in a video that has come online, part of which I'm going to give you so that you can be able to understand the context of our conversation tonight. Said Mr. Kegama, who also appeared on our breakfast show on Channels Television, raised the allegation stating that there is a collusion between the Borno lawmaker, the state government, in siphoning funds that are meant for the ransom of kidnapped persons in Borno State. But this has raised quite a lot of eyebrows, and a lot of Nigerians are talking about this. The senator has equally been responding to this. But what is the meat of this matter? Tonight we dig into it, and we allow the senator to answer the questions that have been raised on this matter. But for those of you who did not know, or who did not hear, or rather did not get to understand what the allegations are, this was what the Mr. Kegama, the man who is alleging, who says that he's been involved in several rescue operations, helping the federal government and the state government to rescue persons from the hands of Boko Haram. He also stated that he's been involved and directly in communications with Boko Haram elements to the effect of getting their release for a ransom payment. Let me allow you to listen to some part of what he said on Sunrise Daily on Channels Television.
Do you know presently Boko Haram have not made any attacks since the release of the Goshe women? They have not done one attack. And it's confirmed and it's well confirmed. All of them, they know. I know, but I'm not part of the system. So I need to... State government are the ones orchestrating and making money out of this whole insecurity stuff. Now, when those monies was almost paid, as Senator Ali Ndume, I quote and I quote again, as Senator Ali Ndume, according to what they told me, and I have evidence to back that, they said there is a media person that calls himself a media person, a second mediator. He is the Senator Ali Ndume and government person. They told us to communicate with him. It is only through him that monies will be paid. Monies will not be paid through anybody because he is their in-house mediator. Do you get what I'm saying? If terrorists are able to tell you that there is an in-house mediator for government, that monies will be paid only through him, what happens next? I told them, look, go ahead, do the mediations with him, release our people, that is all I want. They said it is fine. Normally we don't cross who we started with, but we will do it since you decide you are fine with it. They went ahead, they made the mediations, they received ransoms. Now later, they complained to me that the ransom they received was 1.9 billion, whilst 5 billion was released. Where is the 3 billion 100 million specifically? Who was the mediator sent in? They said it was a Senator Ali Ndume mediator. So where are the monies? I have been speaking about this for a long time. You don't see DSS bringing in, okay, let's bring in these people. Let's see, let's investigate, let's get facts together. You don't see NSA saying anything. At a specific point, I try reaching Nuhu Ribadu. In every aspect, he says my call, he does not pick.
That was a portion on Sunrise Daily, but the man is equally on social media, and it does not look like he's backing down. He, according to him, says he has strong and ironclad evidence that Senator Ali Ndume, he also mentioned the governor of Borno State alongside the communications around ransom for the release of kidnapped persons. For context, listen to what he said right here on the social media.
At a specific time, when the Borno State government sent a second mediator, which Boko Haram later complained to me that they only received 1.9 billion. This is not an allegation. We have evidence to everything. When it gets to that point, we will release the evidence. We are working towards probing them with UN. Since the Nigerian government is not doing the needful, these people are literally getting money from insecurity. They are sharing money with Boko Haram, with ISWAP and all. Talking about ISWAP, in fact, presently as I'm speaking to you, we started mediations with ISWAP for the release of the Musa and the Lassa school children. At this point, they told us that the Borno State government told them to hold any mediation with OSL and Bosia, so they would mediate with them through their own mediator. So monies can be paid to them through their own mediator. That is the reality of what is happening. So what we are trying to say here is, to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Borno State government and Senator Ali Ndume are complicit to insecurity in Borno State. They are complicit to what? To everything you see. They have mediators that mediate for monies. When there is another mediator, they cancel it because it would spoil whatever they have planned. Boko Haram complained to me that they only received 1.9 billion out of the money federal government released, I don't know, state government, whatever it is. Senator Ali Ndume had a specific...
That is Mr. Mika Kegama there, in another instance on social media. But what are the facts to this matter? Well, let's get some clarity and answers to some of what may be bothering your mind equally about the issues raised by these gentlemen. The man in question, and which these allegations are against, is Senator Ali Ndume, representing Borno South in the National Assembly, and it's live for us here in the studio. Senator, it's a pleasure having you on the program tonight.
Thank you, Shehu. Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Let's begin the conversation. And I'd like to ask you, are you aware of the Borno South Youth Alliance?
Yeah, I became aware of the Borno Youth Alliance after the abduction of 416 people from my local government, particularly in Goshe, and after he, claiming as the president of Borno South Youth Alliance, claimed that he is in contact with Boko Haram, and Boko Haram demanded a ransom of 5 billion, and that if they are not released, the money is not made available within 72 hours, the people are going to be killed, some will be married out, and all that big threat. And
so you met him face to face?
No, I have never seen him in my life.
Did you speak with him on the phone?
Yes, I have. I spoke to him severally before I cut off, after I became suspicious of him. And then I have some voice message that he sent, and the last one that I sent to him, warning him to stop contacting me because I did the needful. What is the needful? I reported the matter to the NSA, the police, and the military intelligence, and I've been...
So you made an official complaint to the military, the police, and the NSA?
Yes, the NSA.
In writing?
No, not in writing. Lately, I made it on WhatsApp, and I spoke with the DGSS. I spoke with NSA on this matter. That is after he came on Sunrise to make those specific allegations. And I told them that there is the need to bring us in or hear him out as he said he wants to. He had. So that all this his allegation, will have the opportunity to prove those allegations, and the government should take this matter very serious because it borders on national security. It's very dangerous. In fact, international security, because ISWAP and all these terrorist organizations are involved. So after he started bothering me about personally contributing, I told him that I do not support negotiation with Boko Haram, not to talk of paying ransom. And that, I think, is where the problem started. He started issuing out all these uncoordinated and contradictory statements about my involvement and the like. I said it already, that in my life, I've never seen 1 billion at once cash, not to talk of 5 billion. And Shehu, you know, if we're talking about 5 billion, 5 billion is not a small figure. Even if it's in the highest currency, that is 1,000. I don't think this place can take 5 billion if it is cash. That is if cash was paid. If it is not paid by cash, which account was that money paid to? Who was responsible for the payment? Is it the state government as he is claiming? And if it is so, he should go as it is now to prove to the responsible authorities that this is what happened, that is why it happened. So after complaining severally to DSS and SS, I understand now, day before yesterday or 2 days ago, he has been invited by DSS to come and explain. So I think so far that is what he's in, because...
Samaila Kaigama, that is his name.
Samaila Ibrahim Kaigama.
Now, you said you have never met him one-on-one, that you only have spoken with him on the phone and exchanged messages with him. But are you aware that he has helped out in the rescue or the release of some abducted persons in Borno State?
No, I'm not aware. I'm only aware that after this issue and the halubalu that he has been talking about, some people from my constituency came to me to say Kaigama defrauded them or extorted money from them by asking them to contribute money for the release of the people. But all of them that he claimed or he collected money on behalf, up to now, have not been released. So the people who came after we started this back and forth something, to say they are reporting this matter, I said, go to the appropriate authority. So he has a case now with the EFCC about extortion or financial crime, which is the appropriate authority. And I think the other agencies like DSS and police are also aware. And I also reported the case to the police after he consistently or he made all those defamatory comments about me, and I said, this is getting out of hand and I need to do something. So that's why I reported to the police, reported to NSA, reported to DSS, and I'm also going to take him to court on this matter because it's a serious defamation of character.
There are instances I'd like to know recently, because the case Kaigama is making reference to in the instance is relating to 50 women and children.
No.
He's made specific reference
the 15 women and children is when I clearly told him, and let me state this here, that I, up to now, and even in the future, do not support negotiating with Boko Haram or paying any ransom. That has been my position up initial, way back. Even during Buhari's regime, when negotiation was going on prisoners exchange or what they call it, and the ransom was paid to them, I was totally against it. I have been against.
And there are several instances where ransom have been paid.
I don't know about that.
I can give you instances where they are widely reported.
Yeah.
And from 2013 up until 2022, there are reported instances of ransom that have been paid. And there are also reported instances which you probably are also aware. There are persons in this country that have said that they will be intermediary. Even from 2013 that we know that they say, oh, they are talking to Boko Haram, they say they should bring this. But I mean, you are aware.
And that brings me to a similar case. Those cases that you mentioned, I know, way back, have turned out to be fraud. In fact, 2 or 3 of them are in jail. One has been jailed, a female has been jailed in Borno, as a male is under custody, and the other one is under investigation. Because government can be, maybe compromising sometimes by agreeing to payment of ransom or somebody that claims to be mediator. But what I'm saying is about myself. I'm not supposed to speak for the government. The government is doing its own investigation now because he has accused the government of giving me money to, or appointing me as the mediator and giving me 5 billion and only 1.9 billion was received by Boko Haram. In the first place, I don't know who appoints mediator. Who appointed Kaigama as a mediator between himself and Boko Haram? Because I remember in my case in 2011 when a purported, because the person turns out not to be Boko Haram actually, and I went to court for 6 years. 6 years, I was, in fact, about 1.5 months I was under detention because DSS claimed that they were doing investigation. And then they took me to court. For 6 years, there was no evidence. And then they threw out the case. So inviting Kaigama is the right thing to do.
Because DSS at the time said you know Abu Kaka. Abdul Kunduga, and that was the time in 2011. That you had links to him, and you claim that you do not know and you don't have any contact with them. But DSS detained you and insisted that you.
But they could not provide any evidence. They could not even throughout the 6 years. They didn't come to court to say this is.
And the allegations went further to say you are even a Boko Haram sponsor.
Yeah, that is what they said. That I am sponsoring Boko Haram. But remember, Sheon, those days, the same government that was accusing me went to Chad with, I think, about 5 million, claiming that they were going to talk to sponsor of Boko Haram or the leaders of Boko Haram. You remember? Where some personalities in the country were even involved. And I was not part of it.
Have you ever, Senator, been involved in a situation where you had to speak with anybody who you think is Boko Haram or linked to Boko Haram for the release of any of your constituents?
I told you up initial that I don't support, and I will never support negotiating, talking, or even paying ransom to anybody.
So you have never spoken on behalf of government?
I've never spoken.
For the release of any of your constituents?
Not at all. The only talk that I have related to that is my discussions with the relevant security agencies and putting pressure on them to intensify the release of those people. I'm still doing that.
But you claim at some point that a relative of yours was caught in the web of these terrorists at some point.
Yeah. They are still there.
How did you handle it?
No.
They were not talking, they were asking for ransom, weren't they?
No, not at all. And let me first of all say that there was none of my relative that was directly involved in that kind of a thing. But if you call my people, that is those that I represent, as it is now, we still have 56 people in the custody of Boko Haram. Those are my people that I represent. They are from Goshe, and some of them, in one way or the other, I'm related to them. My own is to pressurize government to do more in order to get the release of these people. And they have succeeded in doing that. The problem started, as I told you, when we got 360 people released. And then I commended the government and the military for doing that. Then Kegama claimed that he was the one responsible. So if you see, Seun, if you want to add this up, this is somebody that is claiming that he was responsible for the release of the 360 people. Now the question is, was the ransom paid before they released the 360 people, or these people agreed to release these people just like that? Do you understand the question? If somebody says that he is the one that made Boko Haram release those people, and that thereafter you come up to say that ransom was paid. So, does it add up to you?
Yes, Senator. Since the year that Justice Gabriel Kolawole acquitted you of all of anything relating to that the federal government could not prove any evidence linking you to Boko Haram, but you have previously said your contacts with Boko Haram figures were solely to relay intelligence to security agencies.
Oh, that was when the government formed the committee, which I was a member, to reach out. And the committee collapsed because we could not reach out and we could not move forward. I was not the only person there. The NSA was part of that committee. You just reminded me now. The NSA, myself, from Borno, and I think few others. I cannot remember their name exactly.
The committee never met?
They met. We met severally, but we didn't make a headway.
But at that time, you had said that you had contact with Boko Haram. This I'm making reference to what he said, that you had contact with Boko Haram, but it was solely to relay intelligence back to security agencies. That was your defense.
Yeah. No. That's, you are mixing these things up, and I'm trying to recollect all of it. There was a committee. The committee was mandated to contact Boko Haram and see how there will be negotiation, or they will, bring an end to that. But as I said, we could not get. The statement I made there is that I was, and the committee was mandated to do whatever is part of our terms of reference, but we didn't get anywhere because we didn't know how to even reach out.
Relaying of intelligence, according to you at the time, what does it mean?
What?
You said at the time that the sole purpose of the contact was to relay intelligence back to security agencies.
Yes.
What was the contact in that sense?
The contact
you said that your sole reason of contact at the time was to relay intelligence back to security agencies.
No, there is no...
You were saying that you were helping the state. You are helping the federal government.
The mandate of the committee was to help the state. It was formed by the President Jonathan himself, with the National Security Advisor, that is Mongono that time, to reach out and do whatever is necessary in order to bring those issues of terrorism to an end. But we didn't get anywhere because the contacts was not made and the committee work could not continue because we are not getting any response. Then suddenly, this so-called Kondoga pulled my phone. When I picked the phone, I didn't know that NSA was, tracking my phone as maybe I expect. Then suddenly I was arrested and accused of being sponsor of the Boko Haram. I was shocked. Then I said, okay, bring the evidence. 6 years into it, when they quickly charged me to court that I'm in contact with Boko Haram, there was no evidence, one witness before Kolawole, and it continued. He gave them time to present facts and information, or even bring the Kondega who was in their detention then. They did not take Kondega.
It's the same Kondega?
No, the Kondega
was Abu Kaka?
I've never been in contact with anybody called Abu Kaka. Even though that time in 2011.
They claim that you were in contact with Abu Kaka?
No. Abukaka is the name that Kondega was claiming. He was the one that called me. That is all. The contact I had in my life was with somebody that claimed to be Hora. And do you know what is even funny about it? That individual, the Boko Haram Assad then, is also there, you should check, disclaimed him that he's not their spokesperson. And we didn't know that he had mental issues. His father, who is still alive now, came to DSS and told him that this is his son, but he has mental problem. DSS refused to listen to him that time until he proved that he has mental instability, and they could not present him as a witness in court. That was how the matter, after a long time.
But Senator, how do you deal with this situation? Because on one hand, this man, Kegama, said that not only you, but he even referenced the state government in this matter. Have you spoken to the governor about this, on this, because he's being dragged into this matter too?
No, I think that I said last time that I came here to talk about myself. I cannot speak for the government. And when I hear these rumors, I consider it rumors that ransom have been paid or mediators have been talking.
Because he said you are in cahoots with the government of the day. He mentioned the governor, he mentioned yourself, just a moment, sir. And he said that this matter has to be taken to the United Nations.
That is
because he says that is the
That is what he is saying, Shehu. I'm not the one that said that. I'm telling you that, number one, I don't support, negotiation with Boko Haram. What is negotiation? You call it mediation or anything. I don't support that. I don't support payment of ransom to anybody, to Boko Haram or any criminal. I don't support that. Then how can I be involved in something that I don't believe in? I don't believe that it is the right thing to pay ransom or even to negotiate.
Are you ready to face this man in court to explain yourself?
What? I'm the one taking him to court even. Already.
You can stand face to face to him to challenge him on this matter.
That is why I insisted that the security agency should investigate this matter, invite me and him or whatever, or let us talk one-on-one together. And I hope the DSS will also call me in. I should talk to him and they question us, both of us, or everybody, so that they can build evidence. And I'm insisting that all this talk that you people do surfacely on issues of insecurity, to me, it's not being taken serious. We have heard of people that are funding Boko Haram and they have never been prosecuted. We have heard now, like his own, that Ndume was giving money, and then you take it like that without calling him in to prove.
He came on this channel.
But did he come with the proof? Did he prove anything?
And that's why we are giving you the opportunity to defend yourself.
I'm not supposed to defend myself on mere allegations or accusation. In fact, even today, many of my friends saying, look, don't respond to all these things, ignore them, it will come to pass. But when you lie frequently, it sometimes looks like there are elements of truth in it, especially in his own case where he's been persistent about calling my name, saying that I'm the one that is mediating.
What do you think is the reason why he keeps calling?
It's political. It's political, yeah.
Your political opponent?
No, he himself is saying he is contesting for Senate under a Accord Party. You don't know that?
Against you in Borno South?
Yes.
And you think this is the reason?
Why are you asking?
No, I'm asking you.
You are supposed to ask him.
It's a political. We've asked him. He's appeared on our program.
Look, my friend, this is
the program on this channel.
No, you did not ask him what. I was in fact disappointed. Because when somebody comes to make that serious allegation and he says he has evidence, then he should bring the evidence. That now wouldn't have been necessitated. It would have been me now going there to defend those allegations. But he said money was paid to me. Money, 5 billion, paid to me. I told you now that in my record, I have my accounts and everything in my life. I have never seen 1 billion at once.
And you're able to publish your account to show to the public that...
No, your account, if you want it, I can give it to you. I can give you right now my balance.
He said, in fact, the allegations go further, Senator, that not only that you collect money, but what you wanted to do is to ensure that all of the transaction and the negotiation goes through you and the state governor, so that you can be able to take whatever that is yours and benefit from the ransom, and that Boko Haram is not happy with that?
That is funny, because it doesn't add up, and I don't know whether you'll be able to add up to it. I have a video. I have a voice note that I sent to him before even this saga. And I told him not to get back to me again because I am not interested and I'm not going to be involved in ransom payment, not to talk about going through me to make that payment. And at one time, I think he instigated the captives when they were in captivity to call my name and say, Ndume, you are our representative and you refuse to allow payment of ransom. Is it because you don't like us and all that kind of thing? I still hold those evidence. He tried to set me up to push me into this payment of ransom issue and I refused. And I always refuse. And I said again, I repeat, if there's anybody besides him that has any evidence that I'm involved in negotiating with Boko Haram or, approval of payment of ransom, let him come forward to channels or anywhere. But besides, I don't want to say that so much because, fortunately, the accusation is not only on the state government, but even, he mentioned, if you listen to his argument, that the federal government approved the payment of 5 billion and the state paid 5 billion to me. The state governor is there. SSS will definitely get to the root of the matter. I'm here to answer any question, and I'm saying that that should be publicly done, or the result of the investigation should be publicly done. And then, if found wanting, then appropriate legal action should be taken.
But every other time that people are being released, and we hear that ransom was being paid or swap was being made in that regard, and the government of the day of Borno State is also largely receiving those who are being released. Would you say that you are not aware at all that any ransom have been paid?
No, I'm not the state governor.
Are you aware that ransom have been paid in the past?
This is my main problem with you. You are supposed to hear from me.
I'm asking you.
You are not interrogating me.
I'm not interrogating. Okay. I'm just asking you.
Let me tell you. I am telling you that I have never and I will not be.
Have you heard instances where ransom have been paid?
No.
You said you have not been involved.
Yes.
You said you do not know.
Yes.
You said you have not been involved.
Yes.
But I'm saying...
And I will not be involved. And the state government or whoever in this country, including you, should know that that is my position.
So all of your... there are some of your constituent members who are still in the captivity of Boko Haram.
56 of them in Ngoshe, 42 in Musa, and 37 students of Lhasa, and about 100 people that are traveling. Okay, that brings me to that. If it is true that Kaigama is a friend of Boko Haram, because you don't mediate with somebody that is not your enemy, who is not your friend. His own people, Musa is from Uvu. Uvu is a village in Askira Uba local government. His own people are under captivity for getting to 3 months now. And even in the video or audio that he stated to you people, he said he's aware of where Musa students and the Lhasa students and the Buratai students are. And then he's not doing anything to release them. Doesn't this concern you?
It's concerning. And that's why we are worried about it. And that's why...
He said, who is stopping him from mediating for the release of those people? 3 locations. Who is stopping him from doing that? Who is stopping him from coming, or who stopped him from coming to Sunrise to talk that nonsense? Who stopped him from going to NSA? Who stopped him from going to DG or even police? Is it Ndume? Am I controlling them? So you can see, you add it up. And this is somebody who in his statement here that he's not a politician, he's not interested in politics. And at the same time, he's a candidate of Accord party for Senate. I wouldn't have mentioned that if it is not because, as I said, you have pushed me to the level, and then because his participation or his contest as a senator of Southern Borno is inconsequential to me. I have contested elections 6 times, and none of those elections I contested unopposed. I have 2, 3, 4, 5 opponents.
All right, give me a moment, Senator. We'll go on a break, but when we come back, there's so much more to talk about on this matter. Were ransoms really paid? Does the federal government actually pay ransom? Is the government of Borno State paying ransom? There's some evidence and some facts that are emerging that we will be using in unraveling what exactly is the situation in Borno State. We'll be right back. Conversation with Senator Ali Ndume. Let's tell you that there are reactions to the issues of the fake federal agencies. The budget office has been speaking up on the matter and giving clarity on what they say has gone wrong with the communications with the said agency and the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, as well as the DG of the Budget Office, while facing the investigation of the House of Reps Committee. But let me allow you to listen to how they defended the communications and some of what went on with the federal alleged fake federal agency.
The Budget Office did not create the council. It did not assign its code. It did not approve its establishment. It did not grant its recruitment waiver. It received official instruments and did what the law required of it. It measured their fiscal effect. The Budget Office did not issue financial clearance for the council because the conditions were incomplete. The 2026 appropriation bill did not become law until presidential assent on 31st March 2026. Before that date, the Budget Office could cost the proposal. It could not grant final financial clearance against a bill that had not yet become law. After assent, a further condition remained outstanding. The National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission had not confirmed that the proposed staffing and remuneration arrangements complied with its prescribed template and the approved public service compensation framework. The Budget Office could calculate the cost, it could not open the gate. There was therefore no financial clearance. There was no lawful recruitment, there was no payroll enrollment, there was no salary payment. The process never began, no financial clearance was issued, no recruitment took place, no payroll record was created, no salary became due. Not one kobo of the personnel provision could lawfully have been drawn. Not one kobo was drawn. There is no personnel expenditure to recover because there was no personnel expenditure.
I say this so that while we ask question, you should know that we are asking question based on the document before us, not the cameras before us. In the whole of this process, if I should summarize his submission, recruitment waiver is the responsibility of the Office of the Head of Civil Service, which is part of what we are investigating. And in his report, he has said how he blocked that because those clearances were not given.
That's the exchange between the committee and the House of Reps led by Honorable Yusuf Gagdi with the exchange and the communications between the Budget Office and the Accountant General clearing the air on their involvement or otherwise of the Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council and the allegations as involving the Chief of Staff to the President, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila. Let's continue our conversation with respect to the allegations by Mr. Ismaila Kegama from Borno South in Borno State, alleging that Senator Ali Ndume, not only that he is involved or knows about negotiation for the release of captives who are indigenes of Borno South, he also alleged that Senator Ali Ndume, alongside the government of Borno State, are also involved in siphoning monies released by the federal government for the release of these said persons. Senator Ali Ndume has been speaking and denying this one. Senator, this boss here, the Borno South Youth Association, they say the arrangement represents them being able to negotiate with Boko Haram and just for the release of the 50 women and the children. The proposed release, according to them, is reportedly conditional on donations from families, supporters, and the public. And they are saying that they've reached out to some family members of those who are in captive. And they went further to say some of those who contributed will have their family. They guarantee them that they will get their families released. They went further to say there are no specific amounts, but Boko Haram has asked for this ransom, and they are in negotiation and they are talking to them. And families who contribute will reportedly have their relatives included among those who are to be released. It says that the arrangement represents a reduction from an earlier 5 billion naira demand. They went further to say the warning that the remaining captives may face continued captivity or harm if negotiation fail. And they have also called for urgent public support, citing a 5-day deadline to secure the release. These are some of the details as far as...
No, you didn't go, you didn't complete it.
Which part?
He gave an account, personal account.
Yes, there was an...
And then some people paid money into his account. And up to now that I'm speaking to you, their families have not been released. Is that part of the government payment? So he was doing this by the side, but did it work?
But this is not the first time.
No, I'm asking you this question.
No, I mean, I wish that he was here so that he can defend himself. But the question is
you're asking me some questions that are supposed to be directed to him. As I said, you did not read the content because I still have it here myself.
Yeah, so...
where he sent it to me, he sent it to me.
What I'm trying to drive at, Senator...
Now, that was when he even asked me to participate and asked me to contribute money because I have been contributing money to flood victims in Borno. That is not part of my concerns, and I have the money to... I told him point blank that I'm not contributing a kobo for the release of anybody in captivity. And some families felt for that, but up to now, none of them have been released. And that's why they are taking it up with the appropriate authority. It's already, I think, before the EFCC.
All right, viewers, I thank you for coming along with me. Please, if you have not subscribed to Yanga Live channel, click on the subscription button, notification bell, like this video, and don't forget to share them. Until I come your way next time, I say bye.